Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 261 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and a two-time author. Our second book is called From Letters to Leaders, Redefining New Member Education and Leveraging Belonging to Eliminate Hazing. So go and pick up that book today on Amazon. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there's nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, I have so much respect for those who have served in our military. We all owe them a huge debt of gratitude. More and more veterans are coming back to college these days. So we need to have a plan within your fraternity or sorority chapter to recruit these students. They might be slightly older than you, but I got to tell you, their leadership skills are off the charts. And they would actually be the perfect addition to your exec board. So we need to have a plan on these college campuses to welcome them in to the brotherhood that they've already experienced in the military. They're looking for that same brotherhood on a college campus. They want to know that someone's got their back and they've got your back. It's just built into the mentality of the US military. So make a plan, find out where they're hanging out on college campuses and recruit them, because I tell you what, they are going to leave an impact. I promise you, these are not the guys that sit in the back of the room, with their spit cup in the chapter meeting. These guys want the president's job, okay? So understand that this would be a great addition for you. Now, along those lines, our next guest is Dr. Carl Barnes. His mission is to educate, motivate, and inspire individuals who have experienced rejection, denial, and defeat, and who feel hopeless. He's an expert on this because he spent the last 35 years serving our country in the United States Navy, including many years as a chaplain. Dr. Barnes has experienced firsthand countless setbacks and challenges and knows what it means. Based on his decades of in the trenches experience, he's created lessons which will provide tools to help you overcome and navigate the stormy seas in your life. He also helps through his book. It's called Resilient Sailing: 10 Lessons to Preserve in Life's Stormy Seas. He also has workshops, coaching, and online courses. I will tell you what, learning from Dr. Barnes will help you to be better prepared to face rejections that will come inevitably in life, as well as help you to cultivate an attitude of gratitude. Welcome to the show, Dr. Barnes.
Great, thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thank you, Michael.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, as soon as we met, I said, man, I got to get you on the podcast because our college students need to hear your words. And I know you love working with that age group. So I said, you know what, let's get them on the show. Let's get this voice all over the country as quickly as we can, because the more college students that hear you, I think the more we're going to be able to help. So I think this story is just phenomenal. And, I want to take us all the way back to your childhood, because you were almost aborted by an abandoned and a fearful teenage mother. So tell our audience a little bit about your childhood and what that was like.
Well, thank you, Michael. But as I think about that question, I think about that because you know what? I'm here because my mother just heard the voice of God telling her not to do it. And so I'm so grateful for that because, in those early stages of my young life, I didn't have a father up until I was 3, but I was surrounded by a great-grandmother and a grandmother. And so I was surrounded by wisdom and aged people. So having a great-grandmother that was in church all the time, and she was like the matriarch of the family. So she kept us together. And I spent a lot of time with her, even as a small child. And my grandmother, I had both of them at the same time growing up. So it was a blessing. So these women that had wisdom, they had been through the depression ages. I looked at them for wisdom and guidance. And I feel like a part of that is what kept me during my decades in the military, because even as a child, I was always surrounded by senior citizens, older people that had wisdom that could teach me something. So my childhood was spent a lot of times with those older people. Even at 3 years old, my mother met my father that raised me. I was still again surrounded by older people. I remember living in the projects of DC, going to church in the projects, and my mother kept close hold on us, even though we was in an environment, but she kept us safe and we felt protected because I didn't know what it was like. I just knew I loved being a child and being around the older people, like my grandmother and great-grandmother, uncles and aunts. They surrounded us and they became extended families and also friends.
I love that answer. And, we've talked about this before, but I think today's college students, they don't have enough older mentors. I think it's so important because I know I had that and you had that. we were successful because they helped to guide us, and they've been there, they've done that. Too often today's college students are looking to their friends, other 18-year-old human beings that don't have that wide wealth of experience yet. And so sometimes they make decisions that might not work out as well as they want to.
That's
So
right. They're
finding
trying
those
to
mentors.
yeah, they're trying to figure it out. So these people, like my great grandmother who bought a house during the Depression, they figured it out. So it's like, what can I learn from them?
Right.
Even in the Navy, all these senior officers had all this brass on them. It's something that they could teach me something. So I became a sponge. I became a person who listened a lot because these older people, older than I, could teach me something I didn't know. So I wouldn't go down that path, even though, we get hard at the time, but I look at it and say, you know what? They taught me some wonderful lessons that today I still look back and I say, I'm so grateful that I spent time with these older people that we say they're too old, but guess what? That I realized that they won't always be with us. So my great grandmother's spirit is still within me because I remember her stories of going through hard times. And even though we have a better life today, but she survived that. She had resilience even before I thought about writing about resilience. So these are stories that my great grandmother and great grandfather taught me as I watched their lives and how they went through every day like it was normal, but they did a lot of struggle, but they taught me how to struggle, but be resilient.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And for your undergraduate experience, you chose Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. I've been on that campus, speaking on that campus for years. I mean, that's the students there are really, really top notch. I mean, they might not have everything that you would want in terms of resources, but I tell you what, I mean, that campus, I mean, you get a great education there and some really, really close relationships there between the students. What made you choose Carbondale of all places? I'm sure you could have gone anywhere.
Oh, you know what? That was great. You know why I chose Carbondale? Because I was stationed in Pensacola, Florida, one of my second tour as a chaplain. And I had been taking classes here and there, and even when I was a young enlisted person, but the bases had college campuses on it. So I came across Southern Illinois University, and they had a format that accommodated my schedule. I took weekend classes Friday through Sunday around the surrounding area bases, and that's how I came a part of Southern Illinois University, because they were there, they were flexible, and the staff was great. And even long story short, after finishing my undergraduate there, I became a commencement speaker because I was an alumni. It's like, oh my God, they said, we got to have you. And so that led to one thing which I'm proud of, but Southern Illinois would always have a deep part of my heart, because by them being on campus at the Navy bases, I was able to take weekend classes to work around my busy schedule because I was so hungry for more. They opened the doors to me, and the rest is history for undergraduate.
That's fantastic. I'm jealous that you got the opportunity to do a commencement speech at your alma mater, man. That must have been amazing for you, right?
Oh yes, even though it was at the hospital, because they had it was a joint hospital, so it was at the hospital, but it was for the base military people and those that could come on the campus. But it's just the fact that we represent SIU at a base, and I'm surrounded by these commanding officers. Like, yes, I was an alumni, I was in your seat, and so it was a good feeling, because I would have never dreamed in a million years that I would be a commencement speaker, because I was a graduate and went through the program. And the director said, "You need to tell your story about how you end up at SIU, and now you're finished and all these extra degrees." But that was a start. It was humbling, and I'm so grateful for them being on the military base.
Yeah, that obviously worked out really well for your career. So that's awesome. And you had a very successful military career over 35 years. So thank you so much for your service. I mean, I'm looking through your resume. You got 5 meritorious service medals, 3 Navy and Marine Corps commendation medals, 5 Navy achievement medals. I mean, I'm sure you had disappointments in life. I'm sure you had rejection. I'm sure you felt defeat over the years. So how did you successfully climb the ranks, even though all of these obstacles were put in front of you?
I like that. I think of the scenario about lemons and lemonade. It depends on what you do with the situation. So you can either take your lemons and make lemonade, or you can just sit there and be sour the rest of your life. So what I did, I dug deep inside. There's that resilience. And I said, you know what? I want better. Even though there was ugly days, bad days, the valleys and the mountaintop, I found out in the valley is the most fertile place to be. So going through things in life, knowing what I had to go back, because there was factories in North Carolina, I said, I cannot go through this. I cannot do this. I wanted more. Even the fact that I was almost aborted said something to me, that there was something inside of me called resilience that gave me that perseverance to push a little more when I wanted to stop. I had migraine headaches, Michael. I was rushed to the hospital at the time because I pushed myself so hard, going to school for disappointment. And people saw you crazy. It's like, no, that's how bad I wanted education. Because I went on active duty with 0 degrees, but I was hungry for more. And so the pain and the suffering that went with that, it was part of my growth. Because you can't have anything without growth, so growth came painful, but I'm looking back, I would do it all over again, Mike, because they taught me lessons that I learned in the trenches and what it means to get something and appreciate education at the same time.
I love it. Now, in your book, it's called Resilient Sailing. You mentioned that as chaplain, you relied on listening to voices that belong to prominent people above and below in the chain of command to guide sailors in the right direction. And you also mentioned listening when you started talking about older people in your life. So let's talk about listening a little bit more. Why is developing the skill of listening so important to you?
Very great. You know what? It's important to me because I realized that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And so going back to my great grandmother, those acquired skills of listening came by listening to her story because she was the one to talk and my grandmother talked. And so I listened way back then before I joined the Navy. But working with senior admirals and generals, these people were in command to make decisions. And as their chaplain, I was an advisor, but also I listened to them because, you're thinking you have all the answers to it, but smart people surround themselves with leaders surround themselves with smart people to ask the right questions. You don't have all the answers, I found out. So what I found out by them listening, they were listening and taking notes, but also making judgmental decisions that can impact the rest of your life. So listening skills I learned from my seniors because there were things that I could learn from them and they learned from me. It was a two-way street. There's like, the admiral actually listened to me when I encouraged him to go spend time with his father who was dying one time. He said, thank you, because I said, you have a chief of staff. There's somebody there that can take the job over because we think that everything rises and falls on us. But you know what? We're expendable. So I learned that there are lessons from my senior leadership, even below junior people that could teach me something. When I was a credit director working with the Wounded Warriors, I found out that I learned a lot from my staff because I wasn't savvy in computers, but I learned to listen to them and say, you know what? I need help. And there are times in your life when you're gonna say, I need help. Can you help me? But you need to listen to those experts that have the wisdom, that's been there and done that, and they can take you a long way.
That's very, very good and so important. I mean, every team that I've built, I've always looked to hire people that are smarter than I am to get their voices in the room and at the table, because I learned very early on, I don't have all the answers. There are certain blind spots that I have. I know there are blind spots that you have.
Oh,
so the
yes.
key is to fill in your team with people that can see those things. And there are some things I just can't see. I just can't see it. But if I have a strong team, they can point it out to me and say, Mike, look what's going on over here. You need to be focused on this. And thank goodness for that. I mean, everybody on my team right now at Greek University, smarter than me. And that's by design. I am very humble. I don't need to, necessarily be the smartest person in the room. I'm counting on everybody else to tell me, hey, there's a landmine over here. There's a landmine over here.
Exactly.
Just navigate right through the middle and you're going
Yes.
to get through. But if you
Yes.
don't see it, you don't see it. And I just have to be honest and say I don't see it. And that's okay. College students need to understand it's okay to depend on other people. The type A personalities like us that just naturally lead, sometimes we just, put on blinders and we just move forward. And so I've learned over the years to listen a little bit more to my team because they are very wise.
Great. Even in my retirement transition, I'm learning to listen more because even though I've had a lot of experience, I'm still learning things even in transition out of uniform. But a lot of those principles are still with me today because they taught me to persevere regardless.
I love it. Now, talk to us a little bit about dreams, right? I mean, you obviously as a kid had certain dreams. You wanted to get out. You didn't want to be working the manufacturing jobs and things like that. So why should you never give up on your dreams?
I believe that because I'm looking at this quote in front of me. It says, your life's purpose needs to be bigger than yourself. You see, growing up on the dirt road in North Carolina, that was all that was there. But I knew that there was something beyond the state line, beyond the dirt roads. It was a big world and I wanted to see it. And I also wanted education, but I knew that I had what's called take a leap of faith. I knew that leaving there was was an option for me. I could have stayed there like everyone else did, but I said, you know what? I want to see the world. There's a big country right here, and I want to be say I traveled to Europe and South America, but I kept a dream. I had something bigger in my imagination, and reading helped that a lot too, because I said, I want to go to Japan. I want to go to Asia. I've been to South America, but it's because of a dream. I would say never let your dreams go, because you know why? Because if you have something to hold on to, eventually you're going to get there. Like Les Brown said, you know what? I want greatness. Greatness is in all of us. And sometimes that greatness comes with a struggle, but don't forget the dream, because something out there bigger than you. I look at big homes. I've been to the beaches in Hawaii, but you know what? I got to take my parents there because they lived their life through my lenses, like going to the Holy Land. I had dreams of this, never knew that I would be there looking at King Tut, the pyramids, all because as a child, I knew there was more. And I said, when I get the opportunity, I'm going to run right through that wall and I'm going to get there, as painful as it is. But you know what? Looking back, I have no regrets, because I had a dream even as a child. I'm still dreaming right now. You never get too old to dream. There are places I still want to see. And you know what? With that dream embedded in my mind, I'm going to get there. Just have to execute and be intentional about it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And you're obviously a big fan of education. You're a lifelong learner, just like me. I mean, I got my master's degrees in my 40s, and then I'm going to be going for my PhD in my 50s, right? So what, right? It's like, so why should that be the mindset that every student who is listening right now, why should they adopt that mindset of being a lifelong learner?
I like that mindset. You know why? There's something that says live full, die empty. Recently I've been taking walks to the veteran cemetery, and I see that all these headstones they've given their life for their country. But on the other hand, they said the richest place in the world is the cemetery. Why? Because people have taken their purpose and their passion and they buried it 6 feet under or get cremated. And I said, I refuse to let that happen. So if you have a dream and a purpose, do that. Lifelong learning is always learning something. I love to read. I just bought new books. I'm surrounded by books in my office. I love it, because you know what? If you live full, you die empty. That means you have purged yourself of all the things that you can give to other people, the lessons learned, the nuggets here and there, because you've read, you got a degree, you got an education, you've surrounded yourself with people of wisdom, of like-mindedness. And I say, live full, die empty. Why? Because there's purpose. And until that purpose is fulfilled in you, you're going to be unhappy. So why not give what you have to someone else to help touch a person there and create a team here and say, you know what, let's create this positive team with positive, right-minded people to say, you know what, we're going to get through this together. Because let me tell you, there are days that I got to knock on the door. And with that knock on the door, you're not always going to be there. But you know what? You face that knock on the door and say, I'm going to get through this. Like I told my brother, don't you give up on this campus. You stay there and let security put you off. You graduate. And Absolutely. He did, because I had to kick him in the butt.
Sometimes you need a kick in the butt. That's okay. I mean, the motivators need motivating, I mean, we talked about it before, but guys like Michael Jordan, he had a coach that motivated him. Sometimes they need a kick in the butt, even if you're the most motivated person on the planet. And there's not going to be a better basketball player than Michael Jordan, in my opinion. But all of that being said, he needed a motivator too. So Absolutely. It's okay to have that motivator and get that kick in the pants every once in a while. We all need it. We're all human beings. Like, let's not, shy away from that, So, and you've also experienced a lot of pain in your life as well. It wasn't always easy for you. How can you turn pain into purpose?
Very good. Pain and purpose. And I'm one that can say I've been through the pain, especially almost been aborted. I know what pain is. Even going into the military, I found out sometimes they were painful moments, but I call it peaks and valley. I look at this way. I did a workshop in a flat line. We already know the flat line and the heartbeat. You got ups and down, ups and down. So think of your life as a heartbeat. I'll have people do in this workshop, draw a straight line. Now I said the ups and down, the peaks and valleys. You got peaks in your life and you got valleys in your life. What are you going to do in those peaks? In those valleys? The valleys are the high places, but you're going to always, every now and then, experience a peak. What are you going to do in that peak? I said, surround yourself with positive people, those seniors, people that are older than you. So again, this is coming from wisdom, people that my pastors and bishops that were older than me, I call them and say, you know what, can you guide me? I learned to listen to them. Can you offer me advice? But most time you got to raise your hand and say, I need some help for this. I don't understand this. But that's what it means to say, you know what, life it's real. I call it life is like an onion. As you peel it one layer at a time, you're going to cry sometime. And I've cried a lot of time, but guess what? My good days do outweigh my bad days because those bad days help fertilize you to become the best version of you. It makes sense.
That makes total sense to me. There are a lot of young people that are listening to this conversation right now, and they're struggling. Okay. Mental health, is off the charts right now, anxiety, depression, all of those things. What is the right way to ask for help if one of our listeners is struggling right now?
I would say if you're struggling, and I was one that struggled, and I do know that as a chaplain, I was the first point of contact people come to because they knew that they can trust me. I said, find that person that you can trust. You know what? You know who that person is. I said, if there's someone in your life at 2:00 in the morning, you know that I can reach them. Can you reach them? I've had phone calls at 2:00 in the morning. I had 4 and 5 cell phones. I knew in those phone calls that it was crisis. I said, find that one person that you trust and say, you know what? I'm coming to you because I need help. I've been there, I've done that. Sometimes you got to knock on the door and say, look, my last 2 years in active duty, I got counseling because you know what? I preaching what you practice what you preach. It's like, look, I'm burned out right now. I need to do more than this. But sometimes you just got to say, put the ego aside, put it aside, all the, whatever it is, the big head syndrome, and say, guess what? I need help. Men, do that because we don't like to ask for help. But guess what? I'm one man here to say, you know what? I did it and I'm proud I did that because it only helped me and gave me more tools to say, how can I navigate the hard times and pain in my life? Sometimes we need those extra tools. I say, get a toolkit, add it in there. Okay, counseling, therapy, but get a good trusted advisor, a good trusted friend, a confidant. And as a chaplain, I was that confidant with people that took things behind closed doors that I would take to the grave because they trust me. Find somebody that you trust and you confide with them and say, you know what, if I'm in trouble, can I give you a call? And I know that will help.
Yeah, I'm glad that you bring up men because especially young men, I think we're taught that we need to have this tough outer skin, this outer layer that's really tough. And so we're really good at putting up walls. We can build up a wall real fast right in front of you. And we don't ask for help because we're supposed to be tough. My parents taught me, well, you're not supposed to cry because you're a man, men don't cry. You know what I mean? So I was taught from a very early age not to show emotion, which is, when you think about it, it's like, what are we teaching our kids to do that? So I mean, you mentioned therapy, which I think is fantastic. I'm a huge fan of therapy as well. I think it can be incredibly important in a student's life and an adult's life. So we should check that out. But talk to us about self-care. I mean, why do you think that's so important? What do you do for self-care, maybe other than the therapy piece? Is there other things that you do?
As a man, you know what? I get pedicures, I get massages, I go on long walks. As a matter of fact, I love the spa treatment. I have a little thing that here says self-care prescription. So I write myself a prescription because when I was in DC as a cradle chaplain, I worked with the Wounded Warriors. I used to do retreats, personal growth retreats, marriage retreats. And the first thing we do is put their cell phones aside. And this is time to decompress. Those long walks in the woods and, nice music, meditation, whatever that form is, you got to find something that take a deep breath and let it go. Meditation. I love walking. I love listening to classical music. I sat in the backyard this morning, something I hardly ever do on my back porch, listened to the birds, and I did my devotional reading. And you know what? It felt so good because you had to stop. It's like, okay, I'm on fast speed. I'm like 100 miles per hour. As the military, I'm going. But when you stop, and I learned that the hard way because they thought I had a heart attack because I pushed myself so hard until it was stress. So I'm learning now. They say my blood pressure is normalized when I go to the doctor now. They say, what are you doing? Keep doing it. I'm learning to step back and the things I can't handle, let it go. It's too big. It's bigger than I am. I can't handle this by myself. So I go for long walks. When I fly, I get to think a lot and write a lot. I write, I journal. I keep an attitude of gratitude journal. Every day I find something to be grateful for. And self-care to me is at the top of the list. You can have all the degrees in the world, but not take care of yourself, you will have an early grave. And that's what you don't want to do because I was headed there. So take the advice from me. Take care of yourself. Go on a trip. Do a staycation in your backyard and just breathe in the beautiful air. But find something that's a good niche for you and make it a habit.
Yeah, amen. I mean, my blood pressure, I remember way back when I was working in New York City, it was like through the roof because you're constantly competing and you're constantly working, trying to keep your head above water and basically pay the bills in New York, which is not cheap. And so, it's like, and it would have killed me if I would have stayed in New York City, another 10, 20 years. I would have just died of a heart attack and that would be the end of that. Luckily,
Yeah,
I made some changes in life. I moved to the South. It's a little bit slower pace.
yeah,
And, kind of learn to love life along the way because just like you
yes.
said, you can build up all these degrees, you can put a ton of money in the bank, but if you're dead by 50, what's the point? I mean,
What's the
you're
point?
not living,
Absolutely.
your purpose.
Yes.
Oh man, oh man. But yeah, I'm happy to see that you got everything under control. Keep that blood pressure under control. That's what I worry about with you. That's the silent killer right there is blood pressure.
It is. It is. And every time I go to get my checkup, I said 112 or 70. Say, you're doing great. Your blood pressure's doing great because since I retired, my blood pressure stabilized, and I'm grateful because I was in a stressful environment. I handled it, but at what cost? So
At what
now I'm
cost?
grateful for the experience. But now I have control to say, you know what? Step back. Take a deep breath, read a book, go for a walk. I love going for nice drives and put a nice classical CD, some jazz music, and just relax and let it all absorb because you know what? Life is short.
Yes, amen. Life is so short. Oh my God. But we got to do the best we can with the time that we've been given by God, right?
Exactly.
So we
Exactly.
got to, give back and find a way to make it a better place. Now, we love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I live in Nashville. There's very,
Yes.
very good food in Nashville, but you're living in Memphis. And I
Woo!
know, I know over in Memphis, there's some great food. So what restaurant should I go to for a great meal the next time that I'm in Memphis?
Well, there are two that I love. One of them is Neely's Interstate Barbecue. I love going there. And number two is Commissary. So when I first got stationed here, my friends said we're going to Commissary. It's like, okay, in the military, the Commissary is like a place, a grocery store, right? I said, why are we going to the Commissary? It was a barbecue place. I
All
think
right.
Prince Charles, when he came here, somebody from royalty, they ate there. And it's like, I see why, because I get the pulled pork barbecue. Now they have the chopped barbecue sandwich, the hot link sandwiches. Let me tell you, it's all good. So I would say Commissary Barbecue and Neely's Interstate Barbecue. Those are the two that stand out right now that I love, that I would take my family and friends to when they visit me in Memphis.
There you go. There you go. I'm having some people are coming in from out of town tonight, and that's exactly what they're looking for is barbecue, and there's
Oh yeah,
nothing better to bring, family and friends together. I mean, we could be on opposite ends, politically or however you want to look at it, but we can all agree on good food. You put a good
good
plate of
food.
pulled pork down, we're
That's
best
right.
friends now.
That's right. Good food always bring good company. Yes.
That's it. That's it. You put a good plate of food. I mean, nobody's going anywhere. We're going to eat this food.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been so much fun, Dr. Barnes. So if our college
Exciting.
student listeners, if they want to connect with you, if they want to buy your book, or they want to maybe get you to speak on their college campus, where should they go?
Well, they can get the book on Amazon, Resilient Living. They can also connect me on LinkedIn. Just put in Dr. Carl Barnes. I'm on Instagram. You can DM me at Dr. Carl Barnes, one word DM. I'm on Facebook as Carl Barnes, or you can email me at carl.m.barnes@gmail.com. Again, LinkedIn, Dr. Carl M. Barnes. Instagram, Dr. Carl Barnes. Facebook, just put in Carl Barnes, or email me at carl.m.barnes@gmail.com. Or I have a business cell phone at 901-390-6717. Again, 901-390-6717. And Resilient Selling is on Amazon.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Now they know how to get a hold of you. I mean, man, you even put out your cell phone. I mean, that's commitment right there.
Yeah, that's
That's
the
awesome.
business one. So I have to have two different ones. So I said, if they really want to get a hold of me, I got a business cell phone. So I know how to do that one.
There you go. That's like you remember the old Batman movies. It's like that red phone. You pick it up, you get a
Oh,
direct
yes.
line to the commissioner. I think that's great, man. So, all right. So go and pick up that book on Amazon. It's called Resilient Sailing, 10 Lessons to Preserve in Life's Stormy Seas. Dr. Barnes, man, you are just a wealth of great information. Today, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you and everything that you've given. Thank you for your service to our country. You are just a model citizen. And man, if we can all strive to be like you, this world would be a better place, let me tell you.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I say an attitude of gratitude to be a part of this audience. And I just hope that it gains a little nugget, some nuggets. They say I can go another mile, but Furthermore, I look forward to hearing from each and every one of those that want me to come. I'm ready to come. I'm fired up.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I appreciate that. To our listening audience, if you like Dr. Barnes' conversation today, please like it on social media. Please share it with other college students, your fraternity brothers, your sorority sisters, any college student. They need to hear from Dr. Barnes because this is the type of mentor that everybody really needs. I wish I had a Dr. Barnes in my life when I was a kid because you know what? He could have helped me through some stormy seas. And I really appreciate that. So thank you so much, Dr. Barnes. I really
Thank you
appreciate your words today.
An honor. Thank you.
All right. And to our listening audience, thanks for listening. And we hope to see you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.